And welcome back to Wakilisha show, our show on PrayerCaveTV. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is indeed the day that the Lord has made. Welcome back again. My name is Esther and I'm your host for today. Today we are covering a very special topic. I know last week we had said that we'll be going on with the topic of addiction, but we decided to cover another topic now that the KCPE results are out. And I hope you'll enjoy. Call your friends, call your family, call your neighbors, and watch together with them. And I hope you'll be blessed as a woman of God blesses us with her words of insight and her words of wisdom today. Today we are looking at grief and loss among the teens and the youngsters, and how parents can deal with grief and loss in today's society. And we know grief only as death. When we talk about grief, we only see the part of death, but grief is in so many ways, and it's even in loss of marks, not getting the marks you expected and not acquiring what you expected. Loss of so many things can cause grief. And so before I invite our guest, I was looking at John 11:17-36 that shows the process of Jesus weeping, and we see that he wept and felt pain on behalf of his friend Lazarus when he died. And part of him weeping showed his human nature, and the fact that he felt the pain that us as human beings will be feeling when we experience loss and grief. And so today we will look at the different kinds of grief. We look at grief, not the death part of grief, but even loss of so many things, and even not acquiring the marks you expected, and all those things in school, grief, maybe loss of friends. We will touch on that, and so many of them. And before we start, something you should know is that grief should be felt. You should feel grief. You should undergo the grief process. I think it's healthy to undergo that process. And without saying much, I want to welcome our guest for today. We all know her, we all love her, and I'll let her introduce herself once again for those who are new. Welcome, Mama Abby.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Esther. Hello, viewers. We are happy to be back to speak about children, and that is our assignment for now, and we are very happy to talk about it. My name is Priscilla Mohia. I am born again, and I'm a teacher, and that is why I major a lot on issues touching children, because I have realized, Esther, children go through loss, nobody notices, and then it affects them. They go through trauma, and people assume they are children, therefore they are not treated like grown-ups, and this really affects them. And so we are so happy to talk about it. And I want to say it is Christmas. Don't say that, oh, these people are talking about loss and grief during Christmas. But Esther, we need, our children are with us. Like now, 3 weeks are gone. They have 3 more weeks. And we need to look at what issues do they face in school, so that we address them before they go back to school. So that they don't go back to school sick emotionally, physically, and they should go back to school when they are whole. So even as we talk about it, we would like our viewers talk with your children, identify the needs they have, and see how can you make them better and ready for school next year. So we are so grateful. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much even for making time to be here and to talk about this topic. Grief, we were talking about addiction last week, and grief and loss, if not dealt with, is one of the things that can cause and lead to addiction, mental health, and all that. So maybe you can tell us, do children I know you've spoken a bit about grief in children, but maybe you can expound on children experiencing grief and loss. Do they experience it? Maybe how do they experience it?
Children go through so many losses, and the sad thing is that people trivialize.
Yes.
They think, oh, that's nothing, and yet it is huge. I can give an example with my own children. They love animals. They just love all sorts of animals, and even slaughtering a chicken for us is an issue. If they see you doing it, they can even decide they won't eat it. So it is always done, and they just fight the meat. And once, there are 2 times they have lost kittens. One was a kitten, the other one was a big cat. And they were going through loss, and I didn't know. And one day, my youngest child, she just told me, Mom, I'm so lonely. Since Pussy died, I'm so lonely. I have nobody to play with. When I come from school, I have nobody. You know, Pussy, you know, she narrated as though it's a person. And you know, me, sometimes I'm like, this cat. And I realized, oh, this child is going through loss. So I began to, you know, support her. We actually prayed for a kitten, and God gave us a kitten, and she was so happy. She was just so happy, and she didn't mind, you know. Okay, she's the last one, so she has no playmates. So life was very lonely without her. Yet somebody can say, just a cat. Me, I had even forgotten the cat died. So children will go through losses, and the parents don't notice, or the caretakers. And let me say, loss of anything, Esther, it affects people. If you lose your phone, it will affect you. If you lose your earring, you know, as minor as it is, and so loss is when you are deprived of something that you had, and children go through this. Even when they shift to a new place, they lose their playmates. And you know, in the lives of children and young people, play is everything. They love to play. That is their world. So all of a sudden, they find themselves in a new place, no friends, and they can go through so much grief. Even loss of, I have talked of loss of pets. That is a major one for children. And of course, the obvious ones that we know, loss of a parent, loss of a classmate. And actually, in the school setup, I would like to say, really people should deal with grief. In my class, last Sunday, I had a girl who really, I could feel the grief. But since we were meeting the first time, we decided, let us talk about us. If you have a testimony, if there is something you'd like to say. And so this girl began by saying, I have 2 things. And one of them, she said, one of them, I always break down when I talk about it. And so now me as a counselor, I knew that she needed some therapy now within the group, support of the group. So she narrated, and I said, just tell us in details what is it that you went through. And she narrated how they lost a schoolmate. That story was in the news. They had gone to steam off, and then one girl drowned. And it was tragic for the whole school. You can imagine, Esther, you have gone out very happy, all of you. You are waiting for the main exam, and then one of you dies in a school setup. And so the girls are fainting, and you see what happens, because as a teacher we have lost students. The students are like, oh, that is very close, you see. So they're like, I am the next one. And then, of course, they go to class where the person was sitting, they're not there. And many times, that one is not navigated very well. And so they carry the grief. They carry the grief, and eventually it begins to manifest in other ways that we will discuss. So, even toys for little children, loss of a toy. You know, as a parent, you can say, now, what is that? Or even a house girl who was very boarded to the children, they go away. There are many times when the house girls go away, the children stop eating. It happens. You know, they are moody until the girl comes, especially like during Christmas. So all these are issues, and many times I have said children are usually ignored during a grief process, even like when they have lost a significant person, like a grandmother, for example. And you see what happens, the school will say, a grandmother, you stay in school, you know. So the grandmother is buried, the child doesn't know. When they come home, they want their grandmother. They just discover the grandmother was died and was buried, and they feel so insignificant to start with. Like, why wasn't I informed? So we really need to be a bit, you know, a bit more aggressive in addressing the issues. And particularly right now, Esther, the results were released, and some people are celebrating, and there are so many children who are mourning because of unmet expectations. That's what we call it. Somebody was asked, you know, they have their dream schools, they have their targets, and then they don't meet that target. And you know, the world crumbles, you know. They're like, now I won't go to my dream school, and maybe their counterparts have done very well. And so you find just a child is withdrawn and moody and all those manifestations of grief. And so for a child, we really should know when are they going through loss by looking at the signs, and even are they talking about it. And Esther, the key thing in grief and loss, you allow the person to express their grief. Like you read a scripture, even Jesus, he's God, yet he wept. He, you know, he expressed that grief. So if God can do it, what about us? And many times, you know, we say we want to be strong, you know. There is no strength in loss. Because the thing is, somebody has gone through loss, they need to process, they need to grieve, they need to navigate the process well so that they heal. Otherwise, if they don't do it properly, it keeps, we call it unfinished business. It keeps going round and round. And I remember once we lost a very close person, and when we went home, we were told he is in the mortuary, don't cry, no crying. We didn't cry, but Esther, we got sick for 2 years, 2 solid years, without knowing what is it. Backache, headache, you know, migraines, you know, funny things, until we discovered, oh, we are still mourning. So mourning has no shortcut. You must mourn so that you move on. And Christ gave us an example. He mourned Lazarus.
Wow, that is very powerful. So someone is supposed to feel grief. It's okay to feel grief. It's okay to mourn. It's okay to admit that you are undergoing a loss. That's okay.
It is good.
Wow. Okay. So which are some of these losses that the young people go through?
Young people go through many losses, especially even in school, in the school context. For example, they even lose their items. You know, their uniform, you know, there's theft. And you see, it really destabilizes them, because if you have lost a book and the teacher is, maybe you have done your homework, you're supposed to submit, it will affect you. You see, they go through loss in terms of maybe even a teacher. I remember we lost a teacher. It was tragic. It was a road accident. It was really tragic. And what shocked me is how students, I knew there was going to be trouble, because when the news were broken, the students did not explode the way you'd expected. But, you know, tulikuwa stand by, so we could see tears rolling, you know. They kind of suppressed their grief, but they really suffered after. I remember there is a girl who just told me, now, because all of us cannot go for the burial, we can't all go for the burial. And me, I've never lost a teacher. And so, and that time she's crying. 1 week after, I mean, during that period, And so she's like, can the body be brought to school? We see the body, but that could not be possible because logistics. You see, that is a person who is going through deep loss, you see. And you're just there saying, these are students, they are not related. You know, you brush it. Another one came and told me that, and she was crying. Actually, she told me, I would like to see you. Do you have time? I said, I have time. As much time as you want, I have it. And when we sat, she told me that she's still going through so much. Since the teacher died, she's going through so much loss. When the other teacher comes to class, she remembers the other teacher. You know, it's a reminder. The other teacher actually died. And then she was really crying, and it was another deep loss. So now those isolated cases, now you have to see them and work with them. So kids will go through loss in school, especially if their teachers die, or the you know, it's a community. When their classmates died, even their parents of their colleagues. So all those are losses. Sometimes even loss of time. Maybe they have been sent away for fees and they feel like they have stayed away. That is still loss. So the losses are so many and so varied. And I have said again, pets to children, they are like, it's like the way a mother has a child. That's the way they take it. This is my child. And I remember a funny instance when a girl had a dog, and the dog, you know how dogs can keep giving birth to so many puppies. So the mother, the dog gave birth. So the mother picked some puppies, left some others, picked some and threw them in the pit. So when the girl came and was like, you know, counting the puppies, where are my puppies? And she began to cry. Akabiwa, they are in the pit. She went for them from the pit and she brought them back. And you see, you can break a child just because of a minor thing. So when we are dealing with loss and grief with children, we must be very sensitive. And this one also goes to the caretakers of the children, even in the church, even in school, and even at home. We must identify, is there a loss? How are the children taking it? How are they processing the grief? Can we talk about it? Do they know what death is? Because other times, the way we tell them, he went to heaven. So, you know, if he went, it means he will come back. He rested, they will ask, has he rested enough? You see? So even the way you put it, especially for the smaller children, it is, you must be very delicate with them, because they must know this person has died, they are not coming again. Whatever they were sharing, if they were playing football together, they won't do it again. So that you bring we call it a closure. They know that chapter is closed. And that is why when you're dealing with loss and grief in children, you're supposed to, with everybody even, you're supposed to use evocative language. Don't say he went. Don't use euphemism. You know, like in Kikuyu, it can be hilarious. There are so many things. I don't know whether you know the things they say. Kwa huko, you know? And it can be sensitive because you can imagine somebody who has lost a person, and then you're saying, ameda kwa huko, kwa malls, they have gone to eat underground, cassava. You know, that is being insensitive. So it is good to say they are dead. And you keep repeating it until they internalize that actually that person is dead. Because euphemism, you will just placate. He has rested, gone to glory. You know, gone to glory. So when is he coming back? And you see, for children, especially the small ones, if you bring an idea that he will come back, they will keep asking. I heard of a very sad case of a child who was taking some money to the father. He said, now I want this money. I want to take it to my father. That time the father is dead and buried. Because she was told, Alienda, you see. So now the child was taken to the grave. And you see now, it means that child has not even grieved.
Yeah.
You see now you will start the
process.
Yes. So it is good to begin right from the onset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I've learned that it's important to not trivialize feelings of children
or any loss.
You know, saying that, I remember when I got married, I have a small sister. She was 4. And my leaving home and coming to a new place and being far away from her bothered her for a long time. And she would tell my mom that now there is a man who came here and took my sister, and my sister is gone, and I will not be seeing my sister as often as I used to see her, and she will stop being my friend. You know, it was important because my mom, I think, realized that my sister she's feeling like she has lost me, like forever. And she did not like my husband because she felt that he's the reason why she has lost me. And so we developed a culture of bringing her to my place during the holidays to even spend time with my husband. And so getting to come to where I am gave her so much joy, and spending time with him, it made her like him and see, oh, he did not take my sister, because now I can spend time with her and him. And now she has, you know, as she's now 8, as she went on growing up, she came and appreciated the fact that she has a brother. You know, so she says she has another brother, but it was different that time when she could not see me. And no one could explain to her that, you know, I'm not gone forever. I will still be here in my husband's house, but you'll still be in my life. And now you have another person that you can spend time with. And so if we trivialize that matter, probably even today, she would still be thinking that
she can even get into depression. And that also mirrors another instance I know of a young man who went through several losses of very significant people. Then the sister got married. They were very close. And that was it. It was the last straw. You know, for him, it was like just exactly, and that is a grown-up, by the way. So actually, even marriage, can you see the way losses can be diverse? And people don't see that. Losses can be so diverse. Even a transfer of somebody, like in churches where they keep transferring their pastors. You know, people have become used to that person. They have bonded, and then all of a sudden, they are gone. So losses can be so many. It is for us to identify, is that a loss to somebody? And then of course we don't trivialize it. We address it. If professional help is needed, we do it. Because sometimes, like if a child has lost a parent, they have so many questions, and then you are telling them God has taken them. God loved him more, you see. So this person will wonder, this child, this God, he's not a good God. How can he take, you know? So it is very good for you identify the loss and you deal with it. You take the child through it. And I have heard of a case. There is a time I was doing group therapy for some children in a boarding school. And most of the kids who would come to me for one-to-one, they were going through loss. There is a girl who told me, I lost my mother when I was 4 years. Can you imagine, Esther? She lost her mother when she was 4 years old, and that time, class 8, 14, Imagine all that 10 time. Years. She has been grieving, and nobody is addressing that. Another one told me that my mother died when she was giving birth to me. So in our culture, people said that I am a bad omen. So nobody likes me. Nobody, you know, I'm rejected. People say I am the one who killed my mother. So you can imagine this is a child who never saw the mother. She doesn't know the mother's love. And then she's going through other losses because of the loss of the mother. And there are many cases. Another one, the father has died and they're just coming for her today. The father is being buried tomorrow. Can you imagine that shock? Why are they doing that? Because, you know, she's a child. So children, they no big deal. Let them stay in school and learn. And what people don't know is that even when they are in school, because people are emotional and they are connected, you know, there is that biological bonding. You will feel something is amiss. So that is how children can be in, you know, so much trouble when they are going through loss, because nobody notices, nobody may give them a lot of attention. But I thank God today things are changing a bit. People are paying attention to children, but we would like that to be, you know, broader.
So you've mentioned cases of kids coming to you and speaking to you, and it's really sad seeing that a period of 10 years, a child will have problems that are not addressed in terms of grief and loss. And is it possible to identify a child that is grieving? Can you be able to identify a child that is manifesting grief?
Yes, it is possible. A child who is manifesting grief, number one, they regress. Maybe a child had even stopped bedwetting. They may begin bedwetting again. Nightmares, you know, withdrawal. They just want to be alone. They are sad. You know, when you are grieved, there is no joy. You are just sad, and you are, I mean, life is meaningless. So those are symptoms. Maybe lack of appetite, cry a lot. They may cry so much. They can also get aggressive. You know, they can get irritable. And it is possible to tell this child, and you will see them with very red eyes. Because they're always crying, headaches, sick illnesses, you know, illnesses related to the stress. So it is easy to identify a child who is grieving.
Okay, and now in connection with the KCPE results, because now a child not getting what she or he expected is a form of loss.
Yeah, it is a loss.
So, and now the KCPE results are recently out, and there were different reactions from both the parents and the children. And maybe you can mention a bit about how different people react to these results.
Okay, you know, in a school, where results are concerned, there are many stakeholders. There are people with interest, diverse interests. Some are personal, you know. Others are seeking their self-interests. For example, the board of management is a stakeholder, the teachers, the parents, of course the students themselves, and maybe we can begin with the students. When they don't get the grades they expect, they really get frustrated and they get desperate. And the best thing we can do for them is to support them. Because we have come to a society that hypes exams so much. You know, it's like it's the only parameter. But I was looking at it this way, Esther. There are so many things you gain through education. Personally, even if I teach a student who is very low in terms of cognitive ability, I always feel still he's learning, because there are many other things. You know, there are other competencies that we teach. We teach collaboration, teamwork, you know, communication, you know, citizenship. There are many things that they learn in a school setup. And Nesta, believe you me, an educated mind is very progressive. If you work with a person who is educated, there is a way that you will find a cutting edge. So I would like to say to the students that all is not lost. And number one, you accept. You know what you can't change, Esther? You accept it.
Yes.
Make peace with it. Because even if you don't accept it, you will just get sick for nothing. So the first thing is you accept and you thank God, because there is somebody with less than what you have. And then, you know, there is always a way forward. Like, can I repeat? You adjust mentally. If I was aiming at this school, then you know I may get a lower one. But you tell God, favor me. I really believe in the power of God, Esther. And I believe that in any situation, when we put God there, there is a way that He comes. He comes and redeems. You can get marks, and maybe you are targeting a certain school, but you get even a school which is better than the one you're targeting. And you know, the essence is learning. So for the students, I would say just accept and don't compare yourself with others, because comparison is an enemy. And we have different abilities. Esther, even as we sit here, we are so different in many ways. So let's accept diversity. Don't compare yourself with any other person. Accept. And I would say, like that student who just died before the exams, even they have no exams to celebrate, even thanking God, that I was able to go through the exams. I finished. I am alive. You know, because there are people who don't finish. There are others who gave birth in the process, and I don't know how it went. This time there were so many cases. KCP, there were so many cases. They get, and you know, smaller children, younger girls, they are not like older women. They can just go even they are not aware. Some are not even aware they are pregnant. Esther. So they will just continue. Then they are doing mathematics, labor.
Oh my goodness.
So I think number one, there are so many. Look out for something to thank God for. Your grade, which you got a C, you could have got a D. So number one, be thankful. And you know, thankfulness is an attitude. Esther. Thankfulness is an attitude, no matter what. And then accept. And then believe that there is still something. Faith in God. There is still something God has for you. As for the parents, they also accept. And they don't pressure the kids, because sometimes we want good results so that we can show off that our kids are doing very well. You are paraded, you know. So just accept and support your child. Love them unconditionally. Because Esther, we don't love our children because they are bright and they are doing well in school. Because some may not be endowed in that area, but there are things they can do very well. So even for the parents, accept, avoid comparison. You know, there are parents who will say, maybe a child is asking for something, and they are like, don't even ask. You failed, and your neighbor here. So each child is unique, and God has a good plan for each child. So then for all the other stakeholders, I think number one, you accept. And then what is the way forward for each child? Because I believe, Esther, no matter what you go through in life, it is now from that point, how do I move forward? How do I move forward? But you cannot keep the past, you know, that. And actually, Esther, what people don't know is the marks, like the KCP marks, they are just used for placement. Once you are placed in a school, those marks may be very insignificant. It is what you are doing there which will count. And we have seen kids who went to school, high school, with very low marks. Imagine the best in the KCSE. And it all begins with attitude. You know, you can say, okay, he imenicheza. The next one, you know, you begin, you know, realigning your thought patterns, and you move forward. Because it is within you, all of us, there is something within us that enables us to make it in life.
Wow, that is eye-opening. The issue of comparison, and you know, it's sad because that also has a toll on a child's life. And we've been in a very crazy period of the COVID, and the kids that are doing the exams now have been through so much. And so, as you say, just having an attitude of thanksgiving is very important. And you know, maybe we can mention a bit about the waiting period, because my case, when I was waiting for my KCSE, I was not a performer, you know, through my high school. And I was very scared of what would come, because I remember after the exam, which I thought was very hard, I lost weight. And I was scared. And when the results were out, I had already told my dad, I know I'm going to fail, you know. So I told him, no need of, you know, checking the results. And my dad is a teacher. And he was thinking, as a lit teacher, English lit teacher, my daughter is so good at essays. And the ones that I know, maybe the kids that I know, get the good. Will it be that bad for her? Even him, he was, you know, having a period of, let's say, anxiety. And I remember the day the results came out, I started by calling everyone who was my friend in school. And the people who were good performers, who performed better than me, had C's, C minuses. And you know, I told God, ninajua nimeanguka Mungu. Nilikutrust nikakwambia, unipea hii chance moja. And for the exams, I think came out on a Tuesday. We did not check on a Monday. We did not check on Tuesday. We did not check on Wednesday. We did not check on Thursday. On Friday, the biology teacher called my dad, because she was his friend, and asked him, why are you not celebrating? My dad asked, celebrate what? She told him, your daughter has, you know, I was a C minus material, B plus. Your daughter has a B minus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember my mom standing uko nje kwa compound, because she had already had the grades of all the neighbors' kids. And she said, thank you, Lord, for shaming my enemies. And you know, at that point I came to realize, is there a way we can handle with that waiting period? Because I know it has been hectic for many children, for many parents. Is there a way we can deal with that waiting period? Because, yeah.
There is a way. Number one, Esther, it is true that waiting, it is not easy.
Yeah.
Because children begin to react. The moment it is said, KCP results or whichever will be released this day.
Yeah.
Panic. For parents, for teachers, in fact, this time, I know that there are some teachers, okay, that I know, they were like, especially when you are sending the results, and then, you know, it's crowded. The web is, is crowded, the server is crowded. So it can be a very tense moment. But number one, it is faith in God. Because what you can't change, you said, leave it. Because number one, you know you did your best. The children did their best. The other thing is, they should just wait for the results first and keep positive, because you can see how you are tormented. That torment, and you passed it to your parents for no reason.
True.
You see, it is even your teacher who is calling. So number one, expect anything. God can do anything at any point. And Esther, I normally say, you know, God, He is so powerful. Can you imagine how He created the world? Have you seen the sea animals? You know, the marine life, the insects. Sometimes you are like, how did God create this one? It has the digestive system. It has, you know, just look at how mighty God is, and then that God, how can He not deal with you?
So
I would say that for the waiting period, it is number one, remove focus. I mean, move on with life. See, exam, you have done it. Move on with life. And sometimes living one day at a time helps, because tomorrow has its own baggage. One day at a time. And then keep hopeful. You know, there are people who are just stress-free, and them, they are just positive. And those people, I just admire them. because somehow it works for them. It works for them. So for you, you are riding on somebody's grace, eh?
Yeah.
I know your mother was like, God.
Yeah.
Did you hear her, what she said?
Yeah.
So she was praying.
She was praying.
All that time she was praying.
Yeah.
So again, let's support our children with prayers,
Yeah.
even in the waiting period. And we normally say we stand for Christian values, because this is a Christian station. During that time, you know, build faith.
True.
Build the faith of the children, read the word of God with them. And even in the Bible, there are people who went through challenges. You can imagine, like David, when he was aiming at Goliath, you know.
Yeah.
You can imagine the tension everybody had. The brothers, the army, you know, even the king himself.
Yeah.
And this boy now, what is he doing with a sling? And so those moments are always there.
Yeah.
But what did David say?
Yeah.
You come to me with a javelin and a spear, but I come to you in the name of the Lord. So for me, I would say faith in God.
Yeah.
Just believing that God can do it. God can do it.
Yeah.
And when we raise our children to have faith in God, even that exam room, when they are stuck, you know, Esther, you know, we have been praying for all of them.
Yeah.
And we would pray when they get stuck, God just minister to them and unstuck them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, when we teach them faith, they will apply that faith even in the exam room, even in the waiting period. And you know, tension can be very infectious, and anxiety. You can spread it like a bushfire.
Yeah.
And so we the parents, number one, we must remain strong and calm. And I keep saying, an exam is not a death sentence. It is not the end of life. There are people who have failed in exams, but they still made it in life.
Yeah.
In the school that I teach, there is something I like about them. Sometimes they don't do so well in the exams, but I'm telling you, those people, when they get into the world, they excel. Esther, that amazes us as teachers. Even if they're just baking and, you know, working in, they just excel. You will hear they have gone out of the country. They just excel. Why? Because we said education, it's not just the certificate. There are all those areas that, you know, that we focus on. Even integrity, you know, diligence in whatever you are doing. The other day I was coming from Nairobi. I was just seated at the back of this Ganyas, and then I saw a young man come, and I was just doing my things. And then when the conductor came, the boy greeted me, and then I was like, who is this greeting me? And then he paid. Akasema, let me pay for you. Kaniambia, Mwalimu, you taught me. Kamuliza which year? Now I recall. And I asked him, what are you doing? He's doing a good job. He's doing well. He told me, in fact, right now I'm from Eldoret. I have come shortly. I will go back to Nakuru, you know. So, and I'm telling you, he didn't get an A or even a B plus. Maybe he even got a C or a C minus, but he's doing well. And that is what I would like the parents to know, that God gives us different abilities. Kuna those people who are gifted in education. So when we give them basic education, it's a springboard. You as a parent, just find out. And I want to say, like the government currently, there is so much investment in the TVET. And we have our own here, the community college, and you know what is happening there. Anybody can do anything, and they can excel. They can go to the highest, you know, level of excellence. So there is so much hope for the children, and there is something for everybody. So we should be encouraged, we should be joyful, and we should not break our children, bring their self-esteem down because they did score the marks we expected. And we also ask ourselves as parents, how many marks did we score ourselves?
As a parent.
Yes, as a parent.
So I realized that there is a lot of expectation from everyone to the children. And so this that could be a cause or a reason, you know, the parents telling the child, wewe sasa unaongea na hata nani alipata A na wewe uko hapa na D zako. You know, that is a big
wrong.
Yeah, it's such a huge.
You destroy the child literally.
Yeah.
You destroy them, and I would also like to say the candidates of this year, both CBC, KCP, and KCSE, these are children who have gone through so much.
Yeah.
Because they did a compressed syllabus, and it was tough. I can tell you as a teacher, it was tough. Because what should have been done in 9 months was done in 6. So it was, in fact, these kids, they require to be debriefed because they are just in another world. Marathon, pressure, tension. And of course, every child wants to pass. And then when finally they come home, you are breaking them. So I personally, I would say, whatever the child got, accept it. And you need, God can work with it.
And encourage.
You know, like Moses, God asked him, what do you have? Can you imagine a stick, Esther? God used that. What about our children? There is so much within them. There is so much. They have so much potential. It is for us to unearth it. We help them realize their full potential.
Wow, that is powerful. It's powerful, and it's not an easy thing to do when you have expectations. But it's something that I feel as parents, it should be done. Parents should invest that time to sit down with their children, discuss, you got this and this, and now what is the way forward, you know?
Before we go to the way forward, there is something I like to say, which I find very practical in life. You know, when you expect from people, you expect so much from your husband, from all people, from your pastor, you just expect so much. You will forever be very discouraged. Because Esther, I may be expecting something from you, and I don't know what you are going through. You see? And you may not be able to meet my expectation, and therefore I get discouraged. And so I say, just lower your expectation and raise your appreciation. Just learn to appreciate things. And when you lower your expectations about even the government, you know, now we have a new government, and you think it is a magic word, you know, everybody, you know, sometimes you expect so much, and then you're like, oh, nothing much has changed. Maybe you thought that when the new government comes in, Uga, 50 shillings, fuel, you know, and then nothing has changed, and then you get broken. So I would like to tell our viewers and ourselves, always lower your expectations and raise your appreciation. That way, you will avoid a lot of heartaches. Esther, you can be waiting, it is anniversary, he has forgotten. Because men and dates, he has forgotten. Nahana ubaya, and then you are swollen, you are puffing, you are so annoyed, and it's like, what is wrong with this one? And you are so wounded, you can't even verbalize. And then it is your anniversary, and then you are entering that gate with anger, and the devil takes over the whole year. So just have it. Give thanks, because it is a miracle. Just give thanks. If he decides to surprise you, well and good. If he doesn't, then God, both of you are alive. Then you move on with life.
Wow, that is powerful. So you've had it here, people. It's also a lesson for me. Lower your expectation and raise your appreciation. No, don't complain about everything, because those complaints are a leeway. It's opening a gateway for the devil. Don't open a gateway for the devil. Even when it comes to those your children, what I've understood is lower your expectation. In as much as you believe in them and you know you trust in what they can do, just expect anything. And when the results come in, it's not up to you to point fingers and condemn them, because most of these kids that did not get what they expected, they have already condemned themselves, you know. And so it's up to us as parents to raise their self-esteem and work with them. And so for the last question, Mama Abby, I want to ask, after, I know you've mentioned a bit on what we will do from here, you know, the results are here. Some have passed, some have failed. From here, what do we do? Where do we go? What is the way forward?
Number one, normally there is the rule, 100% transition to the high school. So number one, I think the major thing here now is to prepare the kids that to accept the schools they get. Because I am telling you, the madness that is usually there around this time, January, parents crisscrossing the countries. You will go to a school that people want, and then the waiting list is 1,000. What chance do you have in that waiting list? You know? So I think one of the things is, can you prepare the child for the next level? The school, if you don't like it and you can get another one, it is okay. But we prepare them for what do they expect in high school. What challenges are there? Because if you are not in boarding school, there is adjustment. You see, how do you begin to, and even as a parent, how do you prepare? You begin to prepare for fees and shopping. You know, you know it's Christmas and you can spend all the money on holidays, but there is January which is coming, and actually it is said by 16th January the selection will be over. So Esther, you can be sure, beginning of February, the 4 months are reporting to their schools. I'm almost double sure. So for the parent, begin to prepare, because there is a financial implication and a big one. And then you prepare psychologically, prepare the kids, go to school. And you know, many times when kids go to high school, again there is a lot of loss. You know, they will go through loss of their former schoolmates and teachers, familiar surroundings. They will get culture shock. Some of them were in academies where they are fed with bacon and stuff. Now they have gone to high school where maybe they are 2,000. These days the populations are large. So maybe even the food, they are like, is this what people eat here? Maybe the water is cold. Then wait, they do an exam, they find they are number 200 out of, and they're used to being number. It can be very disruptive. So it is good for the parents to prepare the children for high school. Expect changes, maybe even in terms of location. Somebody is in Nairobi, they have been sent to Kisumu or Mombasa or wherever. So those are things, you know, practical things that people can do. It's also good for the parents to begin shopping pole pole, because they are basic things. They are basic things that are needed. They can begin it so that it is not so overwhelming as when they get the letters. But over and above, every child should go to high school. Every. And it is good. You know what happens? Even when they go and they may not score very high grades, they grow, they mature, they socialize, they learn to, you know, they learn to live in a community, so that when they go to the job market, they are able to cope with the challenges in the workplace or in the community. Hata kama ni soko, they can cope.
So you've heard it from Mama Abby. Every child should go to high school. Every child should go to the next level. And I've dealing with this, you know, our assumption that, you know, children's emotions are not there, because that is what we assume as society. Children do not grieve, or they do not go through loss. Even the not getting the marks they expected is a form of loss, it's a form of grief. And so it's up to us to encourage these kids to go to the next level, to encourage them that this is not the end of it all. because you know some of them will say sasa I've gotten these marks, mimi sasa nimeisha, sijui nitaenda wapi. And if we are not there to hold their hands, to support them, who will be there for them, you know? And so I'm so happy that we got to talk about this, because you know this grief and loss is a cause of addiction, is a cause of mental illness. Because if these issues are not dealt with, the child will go to other avenues to look for help. And I'm so glad that at this time, you know, we have been able to speak about this very important matter, because the KCPE results are out. People are dealing with it differently. But at the end of the day, as we've been told, it's how we, you know, support them that matters, you know. So I would just like to read the Proverbs 21:31 that says, "The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but victory rests with the Lord." Let the Lord do his thing. Let us, you know, even as we prepare for everything, even as we are preparing our children for KCPE, even for the teachers, you know, let us remember to always give the victory to the Lord, to always leave the victory part to the Lord. And if your child has passed or failed, remember to always give thanksgiving to the Lord. Remember, we've been told to lower our expectations and rise our appreciation. So thank you so much for joining us. And if you are there, you are a youth, or you have a child who needs help at this time, remember that we have the resources to help your child. We have our number down there. You can call us, you can look for the help you need. And for the children, you can go to your aunties that you love, your parents, and you get all the help that you need. And we wish you all the best as you go to your high schools. There you learn a lot. As we've been told, it's not about the only the education part. You get to learn other life skills. And we wish you all the best. And remember, God loves you and he wants the best for you. Thank you so much for joining us. Till next time, we'll see you. God bless you.